Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now April 24th of 2020, and ever since the release of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, a lot of fans around the world have been very intrigued about the future of the Star Wars franchise by Disney and Lucasfilm. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, the one thing about Disney Star Wars is that we do know that as of this point right now, they really are trying to do a lot of damage control, and what I mean by that is they're really trying to pick up all the broken pieces and putting this franchise back together again, how it was before The Last Jedi even released back in 2017 of December. Now, obviously, a lot of fans are still very skeptical on whether or not the new universe is really going to suit well for them, or that they are really even going to connect with this new universe to begin with. They actually do have a big plan in order to make this universe far larger than the old one that we saw in the 1990s and the early 2000s, which I think really speaks volumes. It just tells us that Disney's really trying to go all out with this new expanded universe by hiring creatives like George Lucas, Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and promoting other creatives over at Lucasfilm. And that a lot of changes are in fact being made over at Lucasfilm. A major facelift is being done in order to create a better future. They want to base this universe off of the MCU. What I mean by that is that a lot of these new projects, these TV shows and movies, are all going to interconnect with each other on a specific level, right? So on top of all this, what's really intriguing all has to do with Kathleen Kennedy and, of course, legendary George Lucas. Now that both Disney and Lucasfilm are finished with The Rise of Skywalker, they are moving on to their new Star Wars universe, as well as the new Star Wars trilogy of films, in order to create a better future for Star Wars in general. Now, it's noted that currently both Disney and Lucasfilm have multiple plans in place in order to create a better future for Star Wars, in order to evolve the franchise and make it more successful than ever before, where currently it's noted that behind the scenes, Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy is furious and very angry with Disney's Bob Chapek and Iger for bringing on creator George Lucas to make major adjustments for the new Star Wars universe. It's explained that Kathleen Kennedy is very angry with George Lucas since George will be restarting many aspects of the High Republic era stories that will be introduced later this year into 2021 next year. Kennedy originally had her own personal agenda for the High Republic era that was going to have no wars in the Star Wars stories. However, George Lucas is changing many aspects of that as we speak with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, where it's noted that also Kathleen Kennedy is angry with George Lucas since he will be developing major retcons for The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker that are going to undo specific key creative choices made by Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson, as well as the forced ideas put upon JJ by Kathleen Kennedy that will be restarted for the new expanded universe that will change how fans view the movies of the sequel trilogy era. This plan is to ensure that Star Wars can live on for as long as it can and be more successful than it ever was before. So what's really exciting about this is that George is essentially going to really be fixing the High Republic era. This is an era that a lot of fans have had a lot of criticism over. You know, that's pretty much the best way to describe it, is that a lot of fans were expressing a lot of disinterest, a lot of criticism over this, and really just pointing things out as being very subpar when it comes to Star Wars. So, like I've said before in the past, when you look at everything related to what Kathleen Kennedy has done, it's pretty much safe to say at this point that she really has no idea what in the world she's doing with the movies, the TV shows, and yes, even the books, novels, and comics at that. And this really is a proper choice by Disney to have George pretty much restarting aspects of the High Republic, and I can see why Kathleen Kennedy is annoyed and angry and frustrated, furious, whatever have you, because George is essentially ripping those agenda-driven topics in the High Republic era and creating more storyline, ways of telling these actual new Star Wars stories in this new universe. Now, the High Republic, in case you guys did not know, in case you guys are out of the loop and you want to learn a little bit more about it, it takes place 200 years before the events of the Phantom Menace. It's going to introduce to us, the fans, a different era of the Jedi. Basically a different era of the Jedi Order that we have never seen in both Legends or the current canon material. And this really is big because you can see that Disney is trying to establish their very own creation and trying not to latch onto anything old. Now keep in mind that the Old Republic is still going to come back in the new Disney canon. That is going to be a big deal in the years to come. But the High Republic era is actually going to be an era that is set to be more around the lines of what the Jedi were like between the Old Republic and what we know them as in the prequel trilogy era. And I think that's going to be a very interesting transition. That's exactly what the High Republic is being used for, is a transitionary phase of what the Jedi were like before the Phantom Menace. And I think it's going to be a very interesting story. So thankfully, George is restarting aspects of that. What Kathleen Kennedy originally wanted to do sounded very ridiculous, of having no wars at all, and including tons of dinosaurs and Jedi riding dinosaurs. All these crazy things that made no sense at all whatsoever. So with that being said, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.